Good evening. So in this video, I will answer the question, what is rhetoric? I'm making this video particularly for my students at the university who study this subject. And I'm also doing this kind of activity for self-learning, because when I explain something I want to understand on camera like this, at the end I understand. And I record such things and publish through my YouTube channel and my social media page, because I believe that knowledge should be publicly accessible and free to anyone who is willing to acquire it. So let's begin with the question, what is rhetoric? So let's begin with the negative meanings of rhetoric, because the word rhetoric is used both in positive sense as well as negative sense. So in the negative sense, rhetoric is opposite of reality. For example, when you say political rhetoric, you mean the politicians are not speaking true or real. Then in that sense, rhetoric means spin. Spin is using language to manipulate information to influence people in certain way. For example, propaganda. For example, advertisement. The language of advertisement is a spin or rhetoric in that sense of opposite to reality. So in that sense, rhetoric is something dangerous. It is not good for society. So because it is dangerous and not good for society, it is something unpleasant. We don't like rhetoric. That's why we often tend to hate politicians for all the false promises they make. So rhetoric is something that we would rather like to avoid and remove to get at the facts. Rhetoric, in this negative sense, does not allow us to arrive at facts. So this is the negative meaning of rhetoric. But the term rhetoric not only has negative meanings, it also has positive meaning. So in the positive meaning, rhetoric means study and practice of persuasion. So it is performance art. So in the positive sense, we study how people persuade others, because human beings, as the human society developed, there arose a need for human beings to communicate with one another, to induce cooperation among themselves to get things done. So to induce other people to cooperate one another, one could not use coercive means like animals, because human beings are civilized or said to be civilized beings. So human beings had to use persuasion to induce cooperation in society for the purpose of development of society. So therefore, rhetoric in positive sense is study and practice of persuasion. Then rhetoric is the use of language, as Kenneth Burke says, use of language as symbolic means of inducing cooperation in beings that by nature respond to symbols. We do not study the rhetoric of animals, for example. We study rhetoric of human beings, human society, because it is only human beings that use language or as symbols to induce cooperation between or among themselves. So it is the study and use of language as symbolic means to induce cooperation among human beings. Then rhetoric is also the ability to say what is timely to the kairos at any moment. Have you seen when politicians speak, they're very clever people, and what they say addresses an issue or problem around the nation, and they make rhetoric to address an issue, or in that sense, rhetoric is saying something at the right time to get something done. In that sense, rhetoric is a kairotic speech or kairotic statement. So rhetoric is also a study of or performance of human interaction. It is performance of persuasion. You speak in such a way that you can persuade people. Right now, I'm making this video to persuade my students to understand something, for example. So rhetoric in that positive sense is also a field of knowledge. For example, in that sense, we have, let's say, here we have a textbook. It is part of our course book. So this is a book that contains the knowledge on rhetoric. So rhetoric is a field of knowledge. Rhetoric is also systematic explanation for and predictions of how persuasion works. In that sense, it is a theoretical construct. So rhetoric is performance art, rhetoric is field of knowledge, and rhetoric is theoretical construct. Now let's move on to some principles of rhetoric. Rhetoric, according to principles of rhetoric, human communication or discourse is situated in a moment. Right now, I'm making the video. Look, I'm making this video, so I am the speaker. I have the technology, I have a camera over there, I have a laptop over there, I have this home studio at home where I record my classes. And I have a purpose in making this video. As I told you earlier, I want to help my students. I have a particular addressee. I want my students to watch at first, and then I have let's say broader audience, right? So rhetoric, human communication is situated at a moment. I'm making this video in 2023 year, the month of October 6th, Friday evening around 8 o'clock, for example. Particular time and place. I'm making this video from my home. It has context and ecology. I'll explain these terms in other videos. Now, communication is motivated by purpose. Look, when I make this video, I have a clear purpose. I want to facilitate the learning of my students. So I make such videos as the principle of flipped class. I post these videos on YouTube channel and I ask my students to watch them before they come to class so that when they come to class, they have a better understanding of the topic that we are going to study. So I have a purpose. I have a need. I make these videos before I take the class because when I explain things like this, I myself understand, and it's sort of rehearsal for the class. And when I go to teach the class, for example, coming Sunday, I will be in a better position to explain these things in my classroom because I'm rehearsing it here. So that's my need. And values, as a teacher, I have the value that a teacher should support his or a student as much as possible. I believe that a teacher's life is dedicated for the students. A teacher should do everything he or she can to help students learn and achieve their goals. So that's my value, that's my belief system. Then human communication is interactional. I'm speaking and people who watch my students, they are my audience. So when someone writes, a writer always has his readers in the mind, right? So rhetoric is an interaction between the speaker and the audience. When we speak or when we write, we have the audience or the listener or the reader in our mind. We address their needs and desires as we speak or write. Rhetoric or human communication is epistemic. That means human communication intends to create new knowledge. Rhetoric also aims to create new knowledge. Then rhetoric is embodied and material. For example, persuasion is not just mental. We not only think about persuasion, we actually use physical means. Like, look right now, you can see a human being speaking to you on camera. There is a material body, there is a material technology of the camera, there is a material whiteboard, there is a material laptop, and we have a lot of tools in this room where I'm making this video. So human interaction is technological. It uses technology I have this indication stick, I have this tripod, so many tools are here, right? And human communication is also contingent. It depends on circumstances. For example, my circumstances is I have a class at the university. I find that my students are quite underprepared and they need support from the teacher. And my circumstances is that I have technological ability to make such things, and I make such things. So in this short video, I began with the question, what is rhetoric? In the next video, I'll present to you the basic terms that we should know if we want to study the subject of rhetoric. Thank you for watching. Please do leave your comments and constructive suggestions, because your comments and suggestions will guide me to make more effective videos in coming days. Thanks once again for watching. Thank you once again.